Previously, Mill was competing for the title of the best pastry of the world, but he died in an accident. God then decided to reincarnate him in another world as Pastry Mill, the son of a noble with an S-rank magic. Things continue. The bandit realizes that he underestimated Pass because he's just a kid. Not only Pass used the fallen sword to cut his rope, he also defeated the other bandit in an instant. They suddenly hear noise from men outside. Pass realizes that it must be his father's men rushing into the manor. Licorice calls for Pass's name, worried, but he tells her help is coming. Casserole rushes through the door a couple of seconds later, yet Pass tells them to worry about Licorice first. The bandit realizes he made a mistake because there is no escape from the room. He decided to keep the captives, but he doesn't want to give up and uses his magic to make a hole and escape. Pass initially thinks about chasing him, but decides it's too dangerous. Casseroles pat his shoulder and tells him how worried he was. Some knights from the Duke and Marguerite family arrive, worried about Licorice. Casserole tells the knights to take her to Hubrecht can explain about the situation. Outside, Pass asks if they found the person behind this mess. Fuel replies that it was a self-proclaimed Duke Amaya who tried to escape through the back. Casserole mentions that the Amaya family had fallen 20 years ago. At that time, there was a great war and the Amaya family was leaking information to the enemy. The knights wanted Casserole to also come and report everything to the Duke, but they didn't want to be bothered, so they ordered Fuel to go instead because they had to chase the bandit. They rush inside the manor to see if they can find clues about the escape route, yet Pass mentions that he felt like the bandit didn't have much magic left to make it far. Plus the area is surrounded by their people, which would make it hard for the bandit to escape. He then questions if there's a way to escape without being found out. They suddenly realize something and return to the room. The bandit gets out of the hole, mentioning he pretended to escape, but he was simply waiting for them to leave. The bandit has decided to kill everyone in the room to escape. Casserole prepares himself to take the bandit, but Pass stops him, stating that he will settle things. The bandit thinks he's lucky because he will fight a 9-year-old boy. He knows that he cannot fight everyone inside the room, so he thinks about taking Pass hostage to escape. He dashes forward with a swing to kill Pass, making Casserole worried about his son. However, the bandit's sword is cut in half. The bandit looks at his broken sword confused, and Pass uses this chance to knock him down. As the bandit falls, Pass gives him the same advice his father always gave, to never take his eyes off his enemy despite the initial shock. Casserole is relieved to see his son safe, but he wants to know how the bandit's sword broke. Pass explains he copied the cracks and the walls into the sword. Casserole reveals he was initially worried, but then calls Pass a cunning kid. Pass mentions he would prefer to be called intelligent instead, but deep down he wonders when he will be able to build a country full of sweets. 1 month later, Pass and Casserole attend the official engagement banquet. They're both happy that they seem fine after the whole incident. Lord Katerchek comes to them, and Casserole thanked him for being invited. Katerchek asks how he can repay them for taking care of the incident. He then personally thanked Pass, who humbly replied that he did his job as a knight. Casserole talks about Squale, mentioning that he has a man's look in him, yet the Duke mentions that he's still stiff and nervous because he fell in love with Petra at first sight, but Pass lets his opinion out. Revealing that Squale is already becoming a collected and dependable guy, Katerchek mentions that he hopes that Squale becomes a more reliable guy after getting engaged. The Lord then mentions that he needs to reevaluate Squale based on Pass' opinion. Our boy quickly thanks the Lord and tells the Duke that he wants to talk about something. He mentions something is bothering him about last month's incident. He finds it strange that the culprit had a careful, detailed plan and had prepared a stronghold, but they still failed the most basic thing to get the right targets. He reveals something about their plan was off because they probably had some biased information on Petra. He thinks this mistake was because their information was manipulated and the culprit only knew about Petra. He thinks that there was an informant who could give access to abandoned manors. So Pass thinks a third party was influencing everything for their own purpose. Pass thinks the third party leaked false information and overlooked Amaya's movements in the capital city. The Duke tries to think about who could be, but has no answer. As simply mentions it must be the person who benefits the most, like someone who's hated by the Amaya house and held power after it was destroyed. And that person created this whole incident to stop the Amaya family from regaining power again. Katerchek understands that Pass is hinting that it was him and asks him directly, but Pass plays it out, mentioning the kid's dream about conspiracy stories. The Duke thought Pass was just a kid, but he quickly understands how sharp and smart he is. Casserole. Guys to make his son stop talking, and Pass changes the topic. He mentions it's hard to grow crops in their territory and that they still need some help. Katerchek asks if it's money, and Pass replies that it would be a great honor if the Duke gives them some assistance. Katerchek understands this isn't a request, but a threat, especially when Pass says that his tongue might slip. The Lord is still hesitating, but Pass continues to threaten, mentioning that he was about to say hello to the Margrave and he might accidentally tell him the same theory. Katerchek panics and agrees to give them assistance. He then explains that he used this chance to eliminate hostile factions. He leaked the information, but he didn't intend to put Petra or Licorice in danger. He understands the Pass just wanted to point out his mistake because he didn't even notice it, but he didn't expect Pass to be so direct about it. The Margrave joins the conversation and thanks Pass for protecting Licorice. He then mentions that Pass completed his coming-of-age ceremony. Pass confirms it, thinking the Margrave is going to talk about his matchmaking business. Yet the Margrave mentions that he's sure that Pass will become famous and will be flooded with offers from everyone, so he just wants to secure his position. Pass bluntly replies with a yes, sure, yet the Margraves asked him if he's interested in someone. Pass mentions that he's still too young to think about it. However, the Margrave keeps pushing for the conversation, asking if he's waiting to find someone suitable for him. Casserole tries to stop Pass from answering, yet Pass replies he didn't find a good one yet. Huberek asks what Pass thinks about his daughter. Yes, our boy just fell into a trap. Pass is confused because Petra just got engaged, but Huberek reveals he's talking about the one he saved Licorice's. Pass is confused, the Duke laughing and Casserole facepalming. Huberek explains Licorice likes the idea. Pass nervously replies that he's honored, but he believes that Licorice deserves someone better than him because he has a low noble status. Yet Huberek is annoyed because Pass is refusing Licorice when he said that he admitted that he would settle down if he found someone good enough. He asks what Pass dislikes about Licorice, making him panic. Pass tries to clarify the situation and Huberek asks for his decision. Pass freezes and ends up replying that Licorice is a wonderful woman. Huberek gets happy and asks about Casserole's opinion. Casserole knows he cannot refuse, so he approves. Pass feels betrayed by his father and Huberek gathers all the people to announce that Licorice and Pass from now on will be engaged. Pass then realizes he thought he was going to make Licorice's wedding just to be matched instead. Seconds later Licorice arrives with a big smile and finally summons her courage to thank Pass for saving her. This is the first time he sees her smile and he starts blushing because he never noticed that she was this beautiful. The Margrave does a toast, mentioning he got a fiancé for both his daughters, one being Squale and the second being Pass. Katerchek joins the toast, happy that in a certain way, because they're now a huge family. Squale shakes Pass's hands, mentioning that from now on they will be brothers. After the party, Pass is watching the sunset, confused about everything. Licorice talks to him and worldly asks if she's good enough for him. He smiles and replies the yes, mentioning that he's happy about it. She smiles back, mentioning she's also happy. Suddenly Licorice tells Pass that she prepared something for him. She mentions that she prepared some cookies based on the ones he gave her before. Pass' eyes immediately start shining, realizing that the sweet smell he noticed was from the cookies. He appreciates the color and smell, thinking they must taste delicious. But when he tastes it, he realizes that their salty is the Pacific Ocean. He notices Licorice is anticipating the reply, and he tells her that it tastes delicious, making her smile. You know, just the usual day in life, in a married man's life. But at that moment, Pass decides that he will do everything to protect her smile. That brings the episode to an end.